It turns out there is more water on the moon than anyone thought, and quite a bit of it, 1 billion gallons. Now, last year, NASA shot a rocket into the moon so scientists could study the impact and look for water. It took a year to analyze the findings with spectacular results. That impact apparently opened a crater, revealing the water near the moon's south pole. Researchers say it's enough to fill 1,500 Olympic-sized pools. And joining me now is science and space correspondent Dave Brody from Space.com. So, Dave, there's lots of questions about this, lots of excitement, too, about this discovery. So explain why it's significant.
Sure, a couple reasons. First of all, this changes fundamentally the models that scientists are using for how water collects on the moon. But I think to really appreciate the significance, Thomas, you got to go out 100 years, 150 years. School kids will be taught that this may be the moment when we started to invent space-based human civilization.
All right, so clearly NASA made the right choice, but why did they target this particular crater?
Sure, I'll show you. Well, here's the moon, the face that we normally see. We normally see this part around the equator. This crater is way down here at the South Pole in a place where the sun never really shines. So scientists were expecting that there might be ice there because in the deep shadowed craters, the sun doesn't warm it up, so it still could be there. But they got a really pleasant surprise. The crater that they happened to hit may be the impact of an ancient comet. Comets and asteroids made all the pockmarks around the moon. It's possible that, water spreads around the moon, gets trapped in the craters, but the concentration of ice is so great, the scientists are now starting to think that they actually found the spot where a water-laden comet landed on the moon.
And what is a water-laden comet?
Okay, so there's actually a comet in the sky that you can see now with a telescope. Comets are deep frozen objects from the distant parts of the solar system. As they come into the sun, it's mostly the water ice that you see melting off of them that makes these beautiful millions of miles long tail. Actually, most of the water on Earth probably came from comets in the ancient past. We don't see all the craters on Earth because Earth has been reformed by weather and geological processes, but if you look at the moon, this thing has just been beat up totally, and it shows the record of lots and lots of comet and asteroid impacts on its surface.
Okay, so the president has halted trips to the moon through NASA, but do you think that a discovery like this could reinvest the interest needed to take astronauts back to the moon?
Indeed, yes, and what President Obama really did was he opened the door to the solar system for private enterprise. So he didn't say, we're not going back to the moon. What he said was, now if you commercial guys can find a way to make a living, we will support you, and we will pay you for trips for science. And now we've got potentially a gas station at the south pole of the moon. So one could see in that 100-year timeline the trillionaires of this century maybe making their money in space energy, because water can be rocket fuel, it can be oxygen to breathe, it can be stuff that you drink and wash with.
And how does this further the exploration, or I guess the studies being done to see if life can truly be sustainable?
Exactly right. Now, you do have a gas station because it will lower the cost dramatically. You don't have to take a pint of water costs you almost $20,000 to lift off the Earth just to the height of the International Space Station. Now, the moon, which sits in a much shallower gravity well, it costs you much less money to get that consumable resource. You can break water apart into hydrogen and oxygen. That is otherwise known as a rocket propellant.
Right.
So now you have a way to explore the entire solar system for a lot less cost than you did before.
And you mentioned that cost of what it's like to take water to the moon, or what it was. Is that why astronauts don't do it, or didn't do it? Explain.
Well, I mean, it does cost you a lot. You have to bring everything with you as long as you're sending a human. And even if you're sending a robot, everything has to come with you from Earth. Now we can envision an infrastructure on the south pole of the moon where essentially it's like an oil refinery, only what they're cracking apart is not petroleum, it's water, gassing up, finding stuff to breathe. You can do colonies on the moon, you can do colonies in free space, and now we can robustly explore that beautiful space that's out there.
It's pretty cool stuff. It's really cool stuff. Dave Brody from Space.com. Thank you, sir. I appreciate it.